What's up out there? So in this mod video, we're going to talk about semi-auto farming. Now, just like you do with all the semi-mods and like we talked about with semi-auto rune crafting, you have to have semi-core and it needs to be at the very top of the list. Arrow that thing up to the top, add this first, and then you can add all of the other semi-mods. It is just like a little package of core components that all the other ones use, and that's why it needs to be at the top. You could put this, as long as it's ahead of all these others, it doesn't necessarily need to be at the top. You could have other mods that are not semi-mods, but the semi-core needs to be at the top of this list. So semi-auto farming. This one I don't think is very complex. I don't think this is a very complex mod. When you install it, you'll get some settings you can do over here on farming, whether you want to use compost or buy compost, use compost, or use weird gloop. You can have it auto swap weapons for you if you want any of this stuff when it before it like farms it up and or before it harvests and before it plants and all that. It'll swap stuff out. I don't really want this thing changing things. If I'm in combat, I don't. Well, it says to swap to and from equipment when not in combat. Even whether it's in combat or not, I don't want to be in the middle of a skill and this thing swaps a bunch of stuff over and then I have to swap it back. I don't know if this swaps forward and backwards. I'm not sure. I just don't care. I set it up and let it go. So before we really get into how this whole mod works, I guess we'll go over the UI for it here, and then I'll tell you how I use this. I'm basically a very hands-off farming person, so that's kind of your clue. So there's we're going to run through this real quick. There's allotments, there's herbs, there's trees, and there's special. Every single one of these is treated differently. You'll notice that it says auto farm allotments, auto farm herbs, auto farm trees, and auto farm special. If you disable this here, it is disabled for this section only. You can go to allotments and herbs and trees, it's still enabled. You have to come back here and enable it. So if you forget to turn one on or turn it off and forget to turn it back on or something like that, it happens. I've done that a few times. They are different. It's not just enable mod, disable mod. It's actually got different settings for each one. Now, there is multiple choice down here. You can do custom priority if you want to drag all this stuff around. It's a little too micromanagey for me. You could do highest mastery. Basically, this one is trying to, it says seeds with max masteries are excluded. So basically, this thing is trying to get your mastery up as fast as possible. I don't use this. I use the replant option. So basically, whatever's growing at the time this thing picks up, it just keeps replanting it. That's what I do. Lowest quantity, I should probably use this. Crops with the lowest quantity in the bank are planted. So if I'm reading this correctly, if I have 30 corn but 300 strawberries, it's going to start planting corn until it's just going to raise them all at once. I think that's probably what I would want. That's probably more in line with what I try to do with the way I set this thing up. But this, I have not used this. Basically, I just use replant. That's it. So that's kind of all there is to the auto farming mod. Now, let me tell you how I do this. You'll notice that this is how I do farming. And I've done this way since before this mod was out. Back before we had mod support and everything. This is how I do farming. I will start off with every plot with potatoes. So we start off with what, 2-3 plots, something like that. Once you can start adding these in, once I have enough potato seeds and once I have the plots opened up, I'll put potato seeds in here. I'll start growing through. You'll get potatoes, then like onions, then you'll be able to start growing garum and stuff like that. Basically, I'll go in and set a bunch of this stuff and just leave it go. I'm typically not worried about agility or herb lore early on. That's mostly what all of this is used for. There's some cooking in there too, but for the most part, the things that I care about are herb lore and agility. So I go off and play the game and do other stuff. I check on this every once in a while. I buy a new plot and throw a new crop into it, or maybe an old crop. If I've leveled up, I throw a new crop. And that's kind of how I go with this. So at the end, when everything is, when all the plots are available, I'll just fill it all with onions or whatever. It depends on what I'm after. Maybe I need some watermelon seeds for, I think there's something in agility or snape grass for herblore or something like that. Like I will take what I need to grow and then I'll put a row of these as that. If I'm not trying to work on anything for herblore or agility, the big thing that I do is kind of what you see here. I go down the list and I assign potatoes to this one, onions to this one, cabbage, tomatoes, and I just go down the list. You'll see potatoes, onions, cabbage, tomatoes, sweet corns over here, wild berries, strawberries, cherry, so on and so on and so on. I just go right down the list and assign them all on here. The reason for this is you're kind of getting your mastery stuff because you're planting one of everything. So you're getting mastery worked on. You're also getting a quantity of each crop grown. So it's kind of taking care of the lowest quantity. It's a little slower for both, probably. I mean, you're directly applying mastery for one seed on one plot. It could go faster for sure. And you're only getting one crop or one plot's worth of crop out of it. So it's not necessarily filling up the lowest quantity. But if you go into combat for a week, you're going to come back to a stack of all this stuff in herblore or ready for herblore. So that's kind of how I approach it. I don't really spend a lot of time with it. I just set it up and go. And I do the same thing with herbs. You'll see that there's, this is set up differently because that's some of the abyss and stuff like that. But what I do is just go right down the list. You've got garum, sourweed, mantle lime. I just go right on down the list. Garum, sourweed, mantle lime. And if I destroy one of these, it just replants this wormtail because that's what it was. So that's basically how I approach this is I'll just go in here and assign each one a different seed. And we go mantle lime, we go lemon tile. I do this for trees, oxalime, porax, pigtail, barren toe. And I think we used to end up somewhere. We've got a bunch of extra spots now, but I would fill in like some extra barren toe, maybe some pigtail, some porax or something like that. Like I know I'm going to use certain things a lot, so I would add a little bit more of those at the end or whatever. But this is basically how I lay this out. Same thing for trees. For the tree side, I would probably be doing the tree that's going to grow or give me the most XP. I typically don't care about what I'm getting from here for the trees. Like I don't need the wood for it or the logs or whatever. I need the XP. So I set it up for the most XP. Now, as an aside, if one thing I did not know, and I learned somebody pointed it out to me, all of these seeds here, all your herbs, all your allotments and your herbs have a chance to give you seeds back. Trees do not. I always thought it was odd that I would go plant the magic trees and they would just go away. I didn't realize that they do go away. So if you keep replanting them, they don't give you seeds back. None of the trees do. I thought it was a magic tree thing, but none of these do. I think I've never noticed it because I always had so many of these other seeds. You get them from other sources, so I'm going to pass that along as a freebie. I didn't know it. So how do I actually... that's how I use this. I put one of each on here, and I kind of cover the highest mastery and lowest quantity in that way in the replant. Is it the best way? Is it the most efficient? No. Is it the best? No. Your mileage may vary. You may find better use for that, but that's how I use this. Now, you will notice that if I hit destroy on this, it will instantly replant. You cannot outdo this thing. This thing's too quick, so you have to disable it. If you want potatoes and onions, if you want all these seeds to take effect, let's do the herb one here. And one thing you can do as an aside, you can come down here to settings, and I think it's down here. Show confirmation when attempting to destroy a farming crop. I would not uncheck this permanently. I would only uncheck it while you're using it and then check it back on. Because when you click that button, they are gone. And if you accidentally click that on mobile, you've just lost them. Like if you're not paying attention, you're trying to scroll and you accidentally click or something, you lose them. So what I would do is just go in here and destroy. I would first disable this, otherwise it's going to replant on me. Then I would go and destroy all these and make sure that all my seeds are set the way I want them. So we would come down here, maybe do some more barren toe, porax, I don't know, more Baronto. We'll just throw Baronto on here. Destroy all these real fast. When you plant all selected, now you'll see that it's planted all different herbs. Now you can turn this back on. When these harvest, they will replant garum, sourweed, mantle-lime, lemon tile. That's a little nuance to it. You can't just destroy it and it will pick whatever's up in this thing here. It does not pick this up at all. You have to disable the auto farming for that section and figure it all out, set it up, and then it will replant. Then you come down here, you go back into settings, come out all the way back down here, and I lost it. Confirmation, and turn that confirmation back on. Then you don't have to worry about accidentally deleting anything. That is how I use this auto farming mod. That's it. I don't do anything complicated with it. And my philosophy is that I'm not in a hurry. This is going to take a while to do anything anyway. I let it go in the background. Farming runs 24/7. So every time you come back, you're going to get more XP. You're going to get more items. It's just there. It's always working. So I don't have to worry about it. I just set it, forget it. And then when I need something, I make an adjustment. Like if I am short on a particular herb that I'm trying to work on for herb lore, or if I need something for agility, I'll tweak a few things, maybe add 2 or 3. I don't typically go nuts and add a whole bunch of these as one thing. I try to let them all work together. Now, on the allotment side, I will say that I might do a row of, my philosophy changes over time. I may do a row of potatoes. I may do a row of watermelon, strawberries, another row of watermelon, maybe corn, and then other stuff, because certain things are used and certain things aren't. Some, like you're going to use potatoes, onions. I don't think cabbage is used or anything. Sweet corn definitely is. I think it's either agility or herb lore. Strawberries, I think you use seeds for an agility obstacle. Watermelon seeds are an agility obstacle. Snape grass is for herb lore. There's something in herb lore that uses. I think carrots might. Carrots, you need to grow a lot of carrots for township tasks, so you might fill that all out with carrots. But usually, I'm either doing a single plot or a row of different crops in the allotment side. In the herb side, I typically just run one of each and then do up extra ones like Baronto and Porax and stuff at the bottom. That's it. That's how I use it. I set it all up, do replant. Once it's enabled and replanting, it just goes. Once you've got all your allotments set up and seeds and everything, it just goes. That's it. It just farms and you get goods and that's it. Even though I've got it set to use like compost and stuff, I could care less. I mean, I know it helps, but it doesn't matter to me all that much. I get what I get. I don't really worry about it. The rake and all that other stuff, I don't swap in, so I don't really care if this thing swaps it out for me or not. I just don't bother with it. If it were to swap it out and then swap it back, it'd be probably okay, but I just don't care enough to try, to be honest with you. So anyway, that is how I use semi-auto farming. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section down below, and that's going to do it for this video. We will catch you on the next one. Take care.